Well, let's talk about the implication. And it's funny. If I said who made the most money after, as a consequence of this trial, who would you say?
Probably Greta Van Susteren.
No.
Johnny Cochran.
Nope. Who's the guy who started LegalZoom?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Shapiro.
Shapiro.
Yep.
Shapiro made, a mint here. And he started out of that. But so many careers were launched out of this thing. Johnny Cochran started that basically law firm, national firm here. We're off the fame of this. We mentioned already Shapiro, Van Susteren. This was the first, Court TV was really born out of this.
Absolutely.
And it got its foothold into this as well. But let's talk about, though, the consequences that came out of this. There's now around-the-clock coverage of stories like this. There isn't a chance, and I start with you on this one, Maya, because you've done some, both prosecuted and also been on the other side of the aisle in some high-profile cases. The cameras are there here 24/7. There isn't a chance sometimes to really process everything before the public's got a thirst for what's next. And that's not always necessarily a good thing for the process, is it?
No, it's very rarely a good thing. As a matter of fact, when you're trying a case and the media is still covering your case, in a criminal case in particular where you have a presumption of innocence, it can be difficult for your client to really have that presumption of innocence, because what's reported quite often is not the truth to begin with. So you'll find that there'll be assertions in the media that are absolutely incorrect, but people believe that that's what the facts are. Now, later at trial, you learn that no, this never occurred. There were no injuries, or you'll learn a real story.
But unwind the clock's always hard here. All right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Where were you 20 years ago when 19 and change when the verdict came down?
When the verdict came down, I was in the DA's office, and all the DAs, ADAs got together in front of a TV, and we listened to the verdict.
Were you shocked by it?
I'm never shocked about anything. I thought the lawyering on the defense side was great. I thought those guys really did a fantastic job of turning over every stone. Shocked? No.
Jimmy?
I was at work and I wasn't shocked at the verdict, but I will tell you, I was shocked at the length of time it took to render that verdict. I mean, you had an 9 to 11 month trial and 2 hours of deliberations.
Yeah.
That absolutely shocked me. If for any other reason than just to show some respect for the litigants, have lunch, have dinner, take a few hours, I mean, that shocked me.
Yeah.
That shocked me.
I was working in the DA's office. I was in Mount Vernon at the time. And what shocked me the most was not so much the verdict. I thought they had problems with the case, with the proof. Again, and that's separate from whether O.J. committed the crime. But you can't take the gloves home. You can't take stuff out of the locker. You do that normally. I mean, a good suppression motion probably should have ended that case before it even got to trial. But what shocked me the most was, the average person on the street, their reaction, and how people became angry, or else they were elated. And these are people, many of whom had no idea what the facts of that case were, because they didn't follow the case. You went home, you followed 5 minutes of again, television coverage of a trial, and then they were willing to substitute their judgment.
I'll remember I was sitting in a room, and you had basically a large room, every color in the rainbow. And when the verdict was read, it was like the scab got pulled off the real racial problem that still exists in this country, but certainly 20 years ago, I think few would argue even worse. And it didn't matter if I knew the person for 15 years, and if they were black, they stood up and they cheered. If they were white, they slumped in their chair, and everybody looked at each other and they said, I myself said, my God, do we have a way to go? It
resonates to this day. If you look, there was a recent poll with all the anniversary hoopla, and it's still evenly divided.
People were dead in this trial, and it took such a back seat. The facts of the case, the victims of the case. This was about black guy, white cops, questions about were the cops out to get him, the black guy with money, that what can you get with the best legal system? And it had the confluence of all these things put into a social pot here, and it just came to a boil at the end.
It was also the first time I ever heard anyone suggest that there should be a limit on how much the defense should be able to spend. Nobody ever suggested the prosecution should have a cap, or when the corporation is the one that's being charged that they should not be able to spend unlimited money. So that was a big issue.
Were you ever surprised, though, the black community rallied around, and I'm using this in a broad, general sense, O.J. Simpson, who was hardly ever a champion of African-American causes or whatever else, married the way, I mean, I was surprised how much of a champion, maybe it was just the symbol, I guess. But
Well, I think that it was a symbol, and I think that also you look, and it was not that far removed from Jim Crow, really, when
Yeah.
you think about it in terms of years. You're a few decades outside of that. So, there were those who had grown up knowing that there would be no justice in the Emmett Till case, knowing that there were countless African Americans that didn't commit any crime, who were convicted. In fact, a whole town in Texas where the sheriff made up cases against people, I mean, that's not that long
Yeah.
ago, and everyone was convicted. The problem goes back to what you're talking about. There's still got to be an element of humanity, and you can't forget that no matter what happened here, you have at least one tragedy in terms of the deaths of Mr. Goldman and Ms. Simpson. And if O.J. is innocent and he gets convicted, it's another tragedy. But if he's innocent, you still have to be sensitive to the fact that you have 2 lives that were lost there.
I know I'm over, but real quickly, after seeing that, and there's debates now whether or not oral arguments, the Supreme Court, there should be cameras and stuff. Are cameras good or bad for the judicial system in a courtroom?
Good. Absolutely good. Hey, listen. you can't-
Sunlight's the best disinfectant.
Technology is technology. It's coming. So, and I think everybody should see these courts are open. Anybody can walk in. Why can't they see them at home?
I don't disagree. I think that there are some cases that it's not good. I think that this was one of them, but I agree with the argument for transparency.
I sense
half
a hedge,
agree.
yeah.
I half agree because sometimes I think that you don't want to put pressure on judges to start to cater to what they believe public opinion will be. And sometimes you get the wrong decision based upon how they think that's going to play when it's time to be reelected.
All right. Sound off yourself at home, everybody. Go to Facebook and Twitter and answer our question today. Was the O.J. Simpson trial good or bad for the American justice system? All right, when we come back here, a landmark case that some people are calling a victory that has been a long time coming. You see the logo. Well, today the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office pulled the Washington Redskins trademark registration. Question is, can the team still fight back?